In 2024, the online gambling industry made $78.7 billion in global revenue. Analysts project that number could double by the end of the decade because online casinos have become dangerously smart. These platforms are engineered to target the most vulnerable players, drain them of every dollar they have, and then lure them back in with just enough false hope to start the cycle all over again. And it's not happening in some shady back room in Vegas. It's happening on your phone. And in many cases, people don't even realize they're gambling because the lines have been blurred on purpose. But this isn't new. Thousands of years ago, people in Mesopotamia carved the first six-sided dice out of bone. Even cavemen used knuckle bones for games of chance. Over time, gambling evolved. Dice, cards, racing, slots, stocks, but the core idea never changed. In fact, there are only three things you need to turn anything into gambling. A wager, an outcome you can't control, the prize. And that's where it gets dangerous, because once you understand those three parts, you start to realize just how much of the modern internet is built like a casino. In 2006, Congress passed the Safe Port Act, a bill designed to protect America's harbors from terrorism. It was a national security measure, all about screening cargo and tightening borders. But in its pages, specifically in Title 8, was something called the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act, or UIGEA. And despite the name, it didn't actually ban online gambling. Not directly. What it did ban was the movement of money from US financial institutions to gambling sites. Now this sounds like a technicality, but in the world of law, technicalities are everything. The bill never defined what constituted gambling. It didn't outlaw poker, slots, or sports betting outright. It just said, if it's illegal, we don't want money flowing to it. That left a massive loophole, because the definition of illegal was left to the states. If a state didn't specifically ban something, it was a gray area. And if something wasn't technically a game of chance, but rather a game of skill, then maybe it wasn't gambling at all. At the time, fantasy football was still a niche hobby. You'd get a group of friends together, draft NFL players, track their stats, and see who scored the most points. It was fun, competitive, but casual. Then came DraftKings and FanDuel, two startups that realized they could take fantasy sports, dress them up as skill-based competitions, and inject real money into the system. They were hosting contests, skill-based games, no different, they argued, than chess tournaments or poker nights. They even cited UIGA itself, which had carved out a specific exemption for fantasy sports. And it worked. Regulators looked the other way. Investors piled in. By 2015, DraftKings was spending over $150 million on ads. Fantasy sports were now $1 billion business, but they weren't the endgame. They were just the test case. The real explosion didn't come until 2018, when the Supreme Court struck down a federal law called PASPA, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. That law had, for over 2 decades, banned sports betting in most of the US, except in states like Nevada. But in a 6-3 decision, the court ruled that PASPA was unconstitutional. It violated states' rights. In that moment, the entire gambling landscape changed. States were now free to legalize sports betting however they liked. Within 2 years, over 30 states had active legislation, or full-on betting markets. Online sportsbooks, mobile apps, real-time odds, all legal. Online gambling had spent years in the shadows. It was seen as shady, offshore, even criminal. But suddenly, with a few legal pivots and court decisions, it was rebranded as iGaming, or sports entertainment, and it became one of the fastest growing sectors in tech. It was live-streamed roulette wheels. It was slot apps that looked like video games. It was crypto casinos. It was influencer marketing and Twitch sponsorships. And every layer of this system was built on that same legal DNA, a fuzzy definition of what counts as gambling, and a business model designed to dance around the gray zones. The Safe Port Act was meant to stop terrorists from smuggling weapons into US ports. Instead, it cracked open a portal that would eventually make online gambling one of the most addictive, predatory, and profitable industries in modern day. The reason people lose thousands to online gambling isn't just because the odds are bad. It's because the game is designed to feel like you're always one click away from a win. Gambling doesn't reward you when you win. It rewards you when you think you're close, when you lose, but feel like you should have won. And this is the part most people don't realize. Your brain actually lights up before the result even appears. That moment of anticipation, the tension just before the wheel stops spinning or the card flips over. That's when your dopamine spikes, not when you win, but just before. Everything about the way online casinos are designed, every sound, every animation, every almost outcome is built to stretch out that moment of anticipation. to maximize that chemical reaction, to make you crave it. If it feels familiar, that's because it is. The exact same mechanics are used in social media apps, video games, and even investing platforms. You scroll, you refresh, you pull down to reload, waiting for a reward that's unpredictable and often meaningless, but you keep doing it. Online casinos simply took this loop, the same one that powers TikTok or Instagram, and added a betting mechanic. Instead of swiping for dopamine, you're paying for it. The cycle works so well, some platforms have managed to make millions without even calling themselves casinos. Stake.us, for example, exploded in popularity in places like Texas, not because gambling is legal there, but because they claimed it wasn't gambling at all. They call themselves a sweepstakes casino. Instead of betting dollars, users spend tokens. The platform gives out a small number of these tokens for free, which creates a legal loophole, because technically, if no money is required to play, it's not classified the same way as traditional gambling. Once you're in, you can spend real money to buy more tokens, increase your chances, or skip wait times. It's the same game, the same dopamine loop, the same addictive system, just wrapped in slightly different packaging. And it works. You're not losing $100. You're just using 10,000 gold coins. It softens the blow. It makes it feel like a game, but it's the same transaction. You're spending real money for a chance at a reward you may never receive. And the more you chase that feeling, the deeper you sink. When most people picture a gambling addict, they imagine someone desperate, someone broke, down on their luck. But the modern gambling industry isn't built around desperate people. It's built around something far more profitable. The average online gambler today isn't scraping by. He's a man between 18 and 35. He probably has a job. He might even make good money. And he's not betting to survive. He's betting because he thinks he can win. That belief is exactly what casinos count on. What the industry understands and exploits is that this demographic, these young, high-earning men, are uniquely vulnerable. They're at the perfect age where confidence is high, impulse control is still developing, and access to easy credit has never been more frictionless. This sense of confidence is psychological, and biologically speaking, it's no accident. The part of the brain that handles logical reasoning, long-term planning, and self-restraint, the prefrontal cortex, doesn't fully mature until the mid-20s. Before that, most decision-making is run by what scientists call System 1. It's fast, impulsive, emotional. It's the same system that reacts to flashing lights, loud sounds, and quick wins. And if you've ever been on an online casino site, you already know. Those environments are built entirely for System 1. Bright colors, big buttons, instant rewards. Casinos don't want players to take a step back and calculate odds. They don't want you comparing probabilities or taking a break to reflect on your losses. They want speed, repetition, gut instincts, because that's how you lose the most money in the shortest amount of time. And when you do, they're right there waiting. Casinos actually prefer people who lose. Those are their best customers. The more you lose, the more valuable you become. It's called whale hunting. Not long ago, betting was something you did in secret, maybe through a friend of a friend who knew a guy. But that stigma is gone. Today, gambling isn't just legal. It's cool. It's social. It's everywhere. Since 2018, online sportsbooks like DraftKings, Fondale, and Stake have exploded into the mainstream. You see them on billboards, on TikTok. Even during halftime, they're selling a lifestyle. The message is simple. If you're not betting, you're missing out. And that message is working. College towns are flooded with betting apps. Even friend groups that once only cared about fantasy football are now placing prop bets on everything, from the number of corners in a football match to whether a coin toss lands heads. Gambling has become casual. Most platforms offer risk-free promos, bonus bets, or deposit matches that feel harmless. Just $10 to get started. Just enough to feel the thrill. But that $10 is a Trojan horse. Once you win a little, you feel smart. Once you lose, you feel challenged. Either way, you're coming back. And it doesn't stop with sports. Platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi are turning real-world events into gambling fodder. Reality itself is now a playground for speculation. But all of this leads to a deeper question. If gambling is sold as a choice, when does that choice stop being yours? When the reward system in your brain is hijacked by slot-like feedback loops. When your losses are cloaked in free spins and flashy colors. When your friends are doing it. At what point does choice become manipulation? We're at an ethical crossroads. On one side, there's freedom, the right to spend your money however you want. On the other, there's exploitation. The system's designed to make sure you keep spending, long after it stops being fun. And somewhere in between is the truth. The house doesn't care if you win. The house only needs you to believe you might. And as long as that dream is alive, they'll keep making billions.